Hello Internet friends, Napyet here. A quick guide on buffing in the Pre-CU version of Star Wars Galaxies. If you're coming from Legends or an NGE server to try out the new Finalizer server from the Star Wars Galaxies EMU team, then buffing might be a bit confusing because it works slightly differently in the Pre-CU. And if you're new to Star Wars Galaxies, well, buffing is a complete puzzle, or at least it was for me. How to get buffed, what buffs are used for. The best place to find someone who is going to buff your health and action in the game is to go find a med center, and in Mos Eisley it's right next to the starport here. As soon as we go in, you'll see a strange phenomenon occurring, and that is all of these people standing in a line here. What on earth are they doing? Here's a Master Doctor and they're all standing in line. As the line goes down, the person at the front gets the buff from the Doctor. Look for what the Doctor is telling you up here. Let me put my spatial chat on. So Orzinu is buffing for 1799 for 3 hours, and he's charging 20k. So most Doctors will have that on a macro, and they'll be telling you what they want for the buff, the duration of the buff, and how much it will buff your stats for. So a Doctor buff will buff health, strength, constitution, action, quickness, and stamina. And the difference is huge. Something like 3 times, even 4 times the base stats. So your action will be going from 900 to something like, well, he's told us exactly there, 1799. So all we need to do is make sure that we've got enough money to cover this for Orzino. And I have. It needs to be in your bank or in your cash. If it's in your cash, you can target the Doctor and you type tip, the amount, and then you would press enter, and that tip will go into his cash. If you don't, and you have your money in your bank, to save you putting it into your cash, you would type tip or Zeno, the amount, then type at the end bank, and if I press that now, it would go to his bank. I'd be charged a surcharge of 5%, but it would go from my bank into Orzino's bank, and he gets an email for that. So let's queue up and get our buff from Orzino. Get in line. I won't make you wait here for too long, but let me just mention the benefit of this. So it's a little bit expensive, but the benefit is huge. So when you're grinding layers, getting your levels early on, you can survive a lot longer. Things are not going to knock you out as much, and you can actually take a lot of damage and deal out damage and kill lots of enemies quicker. Basically, for the grind, it makes it a lot easier. The problem is when you first start, the layers that you're going to be getting, the money that you're going to be getting from doing the layers is not huge. However, until you get up to about here, so I'm in Novice Brawler and I've just gone up to Unarmed 3 and Marksman, I would say once you get to about here and about here, a buff is going to start being really useful. But until you get there, buffing is probably not really needed. So the fact that you don't have enough money for a buff shouldn't matter too much in the early stages. Just try and run some layers. You'll be getting like 1,000, 2,000 here and there. Build up a little bit of money, get your experience, and start unlocking some boxes in your chosen class. Ask people to train you so you're not spending your money on the training. And then as you go up in levels, you will get more money for each layer that you do from the mission terminals. So this 20k, which seems like an awful lot when you first start, becomes manageable because the layers that you're taking on, you're getting more money. So you'll be able to pay for your buff. You're not getting a huge amount of money. I do a couple of layers and it gets me enough for my next buff. But the point is, you're getting enough for the buff and you're getting your experience. Hope that all makes sense. Anyway, I'll speed it up until we're right at the front here with Orzino. Alright, so here we are with Orzino. We greet him. Sometimes the Doctor will ask you to send a tell, which I think triggers their macro sometimes. We'll see if this is the case with Orzino, or whether or not he just starts buffing straight away. I think we are waiting for his mind energy to regen. Orzino. Hi. I'll just send the tell just in case that is linked to his macro and he's not a... Oh. Orzino, 20k bank. That's quite unusual in that most people don't ask you for the tip before they will buff you. Because sometimes... Oh, tip. Orzino, 18k bank. Yeah, I got it wrong there. So, yeah, if there's any confusion, don't worry about it. It's mistakes happen. But usually what will happen is you get the buff and then tip afterwards. Because obviously if you don't get the buff, if the doctor doesn't complete the buff, then and goes offline or something, then you don't get your full buff. But Orzino obviously feels differently, that you should pay first. I guess it can sometimes happen that people get the buff and then run away. But so that might be why he's doing that. So as you can see, 2699 we've gone up to with health already. Alright, so the next part is your mind, focus and willpower. And that is got from dancers and musicians in the cantina. In order to get these, you need to be invited to the group. So let's do that. And Deadly Blue is someone who's been here an awful lot. I already know the routine here. You might have to ask the entertainer for a group invite. The way Deadly Blue does it is he wants you to send a tell, and then you will get an invite. So tell Deadly Blue, invite please. Let's see if we get into the group. Sometimes the group is full and you might have to wait a little while. It doesn't actually matter what you put in terms, because this is an AFK macro that's running, that you just get in, so you get the invite. And then listen to Deadly Blue, but also watch a dancer. There will usually be a dancer to watch as well. And you have to watch for 4 minutes, at which point you can stop listening and stop watching, and the buff will get applied. So I'll skip forward, and after 4 minutes, we'll check in again. Alright, so I believe that should be plenty of time. So if we stop listening to Deadly Blue now, we'll get a prompt that will tell us our focus and willpower has been enhanced by the musician. And if we stop watching Samira, is it? We also get our mind enhancement. Make sure you watch for 4 minutes in order to get the full buff. Let's leave the group and make room for other people. Oh, and I nearly forgot. Don't forget to tip. It's very easy to forget. So tip. Deadly Blue. What Deadly Blue likes to do is I'm going to tip 4,000. Deadly Blue 4,000 bank likes you to tip Samira as well. Tip Samira 4,000 bank. I know that's not a huge amount, but sometimes it's basically, I'm using some numbers here. 20k was what the doctor was charging. That's on the high end for a buff, and I've certainly got better buffs than that for less. And it depends on availability and competition in the cantina. You know, if there's only one doctor there, you could, I suppose you could try and haggle, but you kind of, you have to go with what your options are. The dancers, it's more up to you. They won't tell you what to tip, but obviously sometimes it's just to do with how much money you've got available. I mean, that's pretty much wiped me out, so I could have added another couple of thousand perhaps, but it's what you can afford. Now, I'm not saying that you should wipe yourself out every time. If you feel like you can't afford that much, tip less, and so on. I'm kind of focusing on, I just want to get my levels up at this stage. As you saw, everyone's way of doing this is slightly different. The doctor there wanted me to tip before. That's the first time anyone's asked me to do that. Deadly Blue in the cantina is running a macro, so everything is AFK, so you need to know those rules. Generally, if they have an AFK macro running, the instructions will come up, so just watch the chat for what they want you to do. They'll tell you to tell them, and so on. But everyone will have a slightly different quirky way of working, so it's not a standardized thing, but just pay attention to the chat, and most people are friendly and will talk you through things, but some things remain the same. So the fact that you have to watch the dancer and listen to a musician for 4 minutes to get the full duration buff, that's always the same in whatever group you come into. I believe you can get one-on-one buffs from musicians and dancers. I haven't explored that, but that's generally how it will work. And you'll always be queuing for a doctor buff, and you just have to follow the doctor's instructions and look at what they're wanting you to pay and so forth. So I hope that has helped you and cleared up any confusion. I've been NapYet. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.